It's the final round of the 2007 Superside FIM Sidecar World Championship. The penultimate round was held at Rijeka in Croatia and featured the match race and gold race format. Tim Reeves and Pat Farrance had a 25-point lead in the series over rivals Pekka Pivarinta and Timo Kartiala. Pivarinta needed to win in Croatia and set the early pace. But Tim Reeves and Pat Farrance forced their way through on the final lap of the match race with some really hard overtaking manoeuvring, and they took the win and the 30-point lead into the following gold race. Pivarinta now needed to win, with Reeves finishing third or lower to maintain any hope of taking the World Championship title. Frenchman Sébastien Delannoy and Gregory Clues led the early stages from Pekka Pivarinta and Tim Reeves. Ben and Tom Birchall were going well, as were Jos Moser and Steve Norbury. Then Tim Reeves passed Pekka Pivarinta to take second place as the three top runners battled hard, with the Birchall brothers in fourth. Reeves and Farrance then took the lead from Delannoy and were closely followed by Pivarinta, moving ahead of the French team to set up the final battle for the championship. Jos Moser was in fifth place, but he had a big spin-off at the hairpin. The Austrian lucky not to hit the barriers. Then Pivarinta made his move to take the lead. His only hope now was that Reeves would finish third or lower, and that would take the title race down to the final round in Le Mans. But Reeves wanted to win, and the two rivals clashed heavily on the last lap. Then in the final turn, Pivarinta hit the back of Reeves and went off the circuit. Reeves took the checkered flag but was penalised, so Delannoy was awarded the win. With a 46-point advantage, Tim Reeves and Pat Farrance sealed the World Championship in Croatia. Pekka Pivarinta and Timo Kartiala are safe in second position, but the interest is in the battle for third. Team Eastern Airways also clinched the team's championship by a comfortable margin. So for the final time in 2007, the teams travelled back across Europe, this time to France and the famous 24-hour town of Le Mans. As always, plenty of attractions at the French venue. The track, 4.18 kilometres in length, changed slightly since the Sidecar World Championship last visited more than 10 years ago, so a lap record's still to be established. After qualifying, local favourites Delannoy and Clues took their first ever pole position for their home fans, ahead of Tim Reeves and Patrick Farrance, with Ben and Tom Birchall claiming a superb front row start, ahead of Pekka Pivarinta and Timo Kartiala. Switzerland's Markus Schlosser and Adolf Hanni were fifth, ahead of Richard Gatt and Paul Randall, with Manxman Dave Molyneux getting his best qualifying in seventh. While the teams formed up on the grid ready for 20 laps of this race, number 12 Steve Norbury and Paul Napton 10th in qualifying, with number 33 Sean and Mark Hegarty 12th on the grid, teammates to Tim Reeves and Pat Farrance. Sean and Mark, you may remember, scored their first ever podium back at Brands Hatch. Number 18, Dave Molyneux with new passenger Dan Sale. They were looking happy with the way things were going. Number 44, Pekka Pivarinta and Timo Kartiala. They'll be wanting to finish the year with another victory. The championship's gone, but they can still take the race wins. Number 16, the Thika recycling machine there of Ben and Tom Birchall. Well, they've really been the revelations of the series, and they're now serious challengers for race victories. Only a matter of time before they get their first win. Number 91, Gregory Clues, Sébastien Delannoy. Well, they were given the win last time out, but they actually want to win on the track, not in the stewards' meeting room. So the engine revs begin to rise as we wait for the start of this 20-lap French Sidecar World Championship race. Just waiting for the last machines to get settled on the grid before the red lights will come on and then go out. Tense moments for the teams. And number 77, Tim Reeves and Pat Farrance make a superb start from the middle of the front row as Sebastian Delanoy gets swamped by the pack after a dreadful start. On board with number 44, Pekka Pivarinta and Timo Kartiala towards the chicane for the first time. We're down in about 5th position at the moment. Now looking back from Delanoy through the chicane as everybody threads through. Number 8, Richie Gatt and Paul Randall behind. Everybody through safely. Not the start that the French wanted under that famous Dunlop Bridge and down the hill. Gatt looking for a way past the 91 machine. This superb Le Mans circuit. All the teams loving this racetrack. 10 years or more since the Sidecar World Champions have been here. Greg Clues there looks across as Sebastian Delanoy dives up the inside of a couple of riders. Back with Pekka Pivarinta in 3rd position. Ahead of us, number 16, Ben and Tom Birchall. And leading is the number 77 machine of the new 2007 World Champions, Tim Reeves and Patrick Farrance. Heading along the back straight, hard braking into a chicane underneath this bridge. Pivarinta closing right on the back wheel of Birchall. Then it's a short run down to the final S's section of this lap at Le Mans. Pivarinta right trying to look round the outside of Ben and Tom Birchall, but there's not going to be any way through there. Now into the final double apex right-hander, back onto the start and finish straight to complete the first lap. Schlosser there in 4th position. Delanoy swamped down in the middle of the pack as the rest stream through. Oh, and a spinner there from, well, big crash. Big crash in the final corner. And that Dayglow yellow machine is Mark Barr, the French rider. Looks like Slovenian Milan Spendel and Rick Long were involved in that one as well. Back on board at the front though, Pivarinta right with Birchall and through on the inside to take 2nd position. Well, after that last lap incident in Croatia, the Finnish pair would love nothing more than to win the final race of the year and beat Tim Reeves and Pat Farrance. And they're closing down on those race leaders now. Run down this short straight into the tight right hairpin. Lots of sliding, scrabbling for grip back with Sebastian Delanoy. Delanoy up to 6th position and now up to 5th position, passing number 12 Steve Norbury and Paul Napton. But they've given themselves an awful lot of work to do to catch their leaders in their home event, especially after qualifying on that pole position and promising so much good things from the Wick France machine. Through the chicane, Delanoy, Steve Norbury, Paul Napton on that Windle Suzuki. Well, the machine's still trying to be moved off the track and the leaders will be arriving there very soon. Well, the race has been stopped. Those machines on the track, red flags have come out. So we're going to have a restart. Well, let's look at a replay of that crash. Mark Baer spins in the final corner and then gets collected by Spendel and Long. And then, well, Ken Napton and Miller run into the spinning machine and get flipped over in a nasty looking incident, but everybody up and okay. Riders back in pit lane waiting for the restart. Well, there's the broken machines of Napton and Spendel being brought back on the truck. Mark Barr's battered machine there in pit lane, and that's Slovenian Milan Spendel explaining to his team what happened. Passenger Rick Long doesn't look very impressed with things. Mark Baer pushes his broken machine back to the paddock. That's the end of his local event. So the grid reformed for the restart of this final World Championship sidecar race. The starter waiting for the all clear signal. The red light's about to go on and go out once more. And we're underway for the 2nd time of asking. A much better start this time from Sebastian Delanoy and Gregory Clues from that pole position. Looks like they're in 2nd position at the moment. Reeves got another brilliant start into the, well, Pavarinta very fast and passed into second place into that chicane as the rest thread their way through. On board now with Pavarinta and Cartiala. They did indeed get up to second position, and it's Tim Reeves and Patrick Farrance leading once again, as they did in the first start. Team Suzuki Finland machine chasing hard as they crest the rise over the bumps and into that left-hand hairpin. Looking for a way past on the inside is Pavarinta, can't do it there. Accelerating down the hill into the next right-hand hairpin. Hard on the brakes, closing up onto the back of Tim Reeves and Patrick Farrance. Balancing the machine between the power and the grip before accelerating along the back straight. Tim Reeves taking a look over his shoulder just to see who it is chasing him down on this first lap, and the answer is his greatest rival, Pekka Pavarinta and Timo Cartiala. Through this quick left-right chicane, once again on the little run down to the Essex section behind the pit lane. And back to complete the first lap of this restart. Big slide from Reeves in that right-hander. Pat Farrance then gets across quickly for the left-hander. A lot of air underneath that sidecar wheel. Sliding out of the left and into this double apex right that ends the lap. So completing lap one, Reeves leads Pavarinta, Delanoy, Birchall, Schlosser and Moser. And then it's Dave Molyneux and the rest speed through. The snake design machine of Philippe Lebail there, the local French crew. Number 15, Tony Green and Colin Chew ahead of Yanez Ramsey and Peter Hill. Meanwhile, the leaders already at the Dunlop chicane. Pavarinta and Cartiala still in hot pursuit of Tim Reeves and Patrick Farrance as they sweep round this fantastic Le Mans Bugatti circuit. Tim Reeves and Pekka Pavarinta haven't spoken to each other since that clash in Rijeka a few weeks ago. So there's still some high tension between the two teams. As once again Pavarinta closes right up on Tim Reeves. Pat Farrance moving his weight around the sidecar to keep the machine perfectly balanced under braking and through the corners. Always a delicate balance between getting that grip to the road and letting the machine slide itself around the corners. Back on the back straight and under the Le Mans bridge, Farrance moves across to the left, hangs out left to keep the sidecar wheel down, then quickly to the right. Back with Gregory Clues doing the same job, and they're in third position, kicking up some dirt into the faces of Ben and Tom Birchall. Well, the Birchall brothers qualified on that front row, find themselves down in fourth position at the moment because Pekka Pavarinta is the bigger mover at the moment from the second row to second position. First four beginning to pull away at the front, with Markus Schlosser and Adolf Hanni in fifth position. Then looking further back, 97, Michael and Bernd Grabmüller from Austria. Well, number 12, Norbury and Napton dropping right back with some sort of trouble, and that's Adam Treasure and Kees Enderveld there. On board with Pekka Pavarinta and Timo Cartiala, still chasing after the race leaders, number 77, Tim Reeves and Pat Farrance. Second half of the season hasn't been kind to Pavarinta. Just 2 rounds ago, he was leading the championship by 5 points. Then suffered defeat by Reeves to level the scores and followed that up with an engine blow-up. And that created a 25-point deficit. Croatia saw another Reeves win, and followed by that incident that ended their World Championship dreams. Now, though, it's the race victory that the Finn wants. Heading once more down the back straight. Slower riders, looks like somebody about to pull out of the race there ahead of them. Now riding on board with Manxman, Dave Molyneux and Daniel Sale. Dave, winner of both Isle of Man TTs this year on the 600cc F2 sidecar when Rick Long was his passenger. Dan Sale was riding with Nicky Crowe, and he's the holder of the Isle of Man lap record now. Dan was also racing a couple of weeks ago on his 125 Honda in the Manx Grand Prix, and he was the winner of the lightweight class. But still at the front, it's Reeves and Farrance in the lead from Pavarinta and Cartiala. And in the background there look like Ben and Tom Birchall now up to third position. Indeed they are, ahead of Delanoy and Clues. Marcus Schlosser still in fifth position, looking back at the number 11 machine of Jos Moser. In sixth, that's Dave Molyneux and Dan Sale in seventh position, just ahead of Richard Gatt and Paul Randall. Well, back on board with Molyneux and Sale in that seventh position, along the start-finish straight, through the flat-out right-hander at the end of the straight before braking hard for the Dunlop chicane. Superb pictures from this new onboard camera setup. Dan Sale having his first ride on the F1 machine under the Dunlop bridge and down to the hairpin. And well, that's passing Jos Moser there. Jos Moser on the outside of us, so up to sixth position for Dave Molyneux. Along the back straight come the leaders. Reeves and Farrance now have a gap over Pavarinta, who's coming under pressure from Ben and Tom Birchall. Delanoy just dropping away a bit. Number 55, Schlosser and Hanny having a lonely fifth position ride there. Fastest lap so far too, number 77, Tim Reeves and Patrick Farrance, 1 minute 42.75, a new lap record. The leaders looking comfortably in control. And it looks like Ben and Tom Birchall beginning to harass the number 44 machine of Pekka Piverinta for that second position. Delanoy not able to keep in touch with the three leaders now. Schlosser and Hanny there in fifth. Number 8, Gatt and Randall now up to seventh position ahead of Jos Moser and Ule Waffler, and chasing after Dave Molyneux and Daniel Sale. Well, the race leaders in amongst the slower riders now. Reeves safely passed. All but the Swiss machine of number 22, Rutz and Albali just holding up Piverinta slightly there. Further back, the wildcard riders, number 62, Sebastian and Rudolf Bessie, battling for 15th. Oh, and a big problem for Bessie. That sounds like their engine's gone bang in a big, expensive way. Well, sounded like a big bag of spanners being dropped on the racetrack there, and another French team suffering disappointment in their home race. Well, thankfully the fire's gone out, but well, that's going to be a very expensive rebuild for the French team. Meanwhile, at the front, Tim Reeves and Patrick Farrance just gaining a bit more of an advantage each lap over number 44, Pekka Piverinta. Reeves and Farrance sliding their way through the double right-handers to end another lap. Bessie's machine being pushed away on the left-hand side there. And, well, Sebastian Delanoy, big slide out onto the start-finish straight. There's obviously some oil left on the circuit. Reeves just getting a little bit further right, and that's number 16, Ben and Tom Birchall, moving up into second position. Hard braking into the Dunlop chicane, and Paverinta bouncing across the curbs. Well, sliding out of that chicane and underneath that famous bridge once more. Birchall just kicking some dust up through the tight right-hander and then back up the hill. They'll go. Using every bit of the racetrack and more as they now break downhill into this left-hand hairpin. Well, Paverinta trying to get power on early, but sliding around a bit there. Looked like the front end was pushing on there, and that's allowed Ben and Tom Birchall just to get a bit of a run out of that corner. Paverinta not close enough to try an out-braking manoeuvre into this right-hand hairpin. Now accelerating hard along the back straight towards the next chicane. Birchall just eking out 7 or 8 bike lengths there underneath the bridge, hard braking into this left-right, and just look how quickly the passengers have to work through that left-right chicane. Sebastian Delanoy just dropping back slightly. Back with Dave Molyneux and Dan Sale. This is Molyneux's best performance in the championship so far after a difficult season, what with changing from the Windle to the LCR chassis early on, and then losing passenger Rick Long. But now it's confirmed that Dan Sale will be staying with the team for 2008. Meanwhile, Pekka Piverinta and Timo Kartiala still trying to regain that second position from Ben and Tom Birchall. You saw Ben and Tom Birchall sliding as they crossed that oil left by Bessie. Accelerating down the straight through this right-hand curve over 250 kilometres an hour. Braking down to less than 100 kilometres an hour for the chicane. Peverinter much better through the chicane that time, and once again right on the rear tyre of Ben and Tom Birchall. Race leaders Tim Reeves and Pat Farrance not that far ahead. Oh, just so close to the rear of that Thika recycling machine of Ben and Tom Birchall. Great performance from these brothers from Mansfield up there in the north of England. And a number of podiums this year. And as I said earlier, surely a race win not that far away for these two. Braking hard down the hill into this right-hander. This is a great battle down the back straight. These first three now separated by just over a second. And it's number 77, Tim Reeves and Pat Farrance leading from Ben and Tom Birchall. Pekka Piverinter and Timo Kartiala in third place. A slower rider ahead of Tim Reeves, but he gets well out of the way. Birchall safely through, although a big slide there, and Paverinter through also. But still Tim Reeves and Patrick Farrance on that immaculate Eastern Airways LCR Suzuki 1000, able to control the race from the front as they start another lap. Dan Sale looking good on the Molyneux Peter Lloyd racing machine, despite this being his first time on the F1 sidecar. Great sound from that onboard camera as well. And they're just holding off number 8, Richard Gatt and Paul Randall for 6th position. Gatt and Randall, well, they've had a miserable year by their standards, but going well in this final race. Molyneux always using 2007 as a learning year for 2008. Number 11, Jos Moser in 8th position. Sean and Mark Hegarty there in 9th. And the battle for 10th between Alan Schofield and Michael and Bernd Grabmuller. And the number 22 Roots machine a lap down on this group, but back with Pekka Piverinter and Timo Kartiala. Ben and Tom Birchall now pulling away, and they're right with Tim Reeves and Patrick Farrance. Birchall set a new fastest lap, 0.3 quicker than the earlier one from Tim Reeves, so that's a lap record through this chicane. There's a back marker in the way, and Ben and Tom Birchall just getting held up there by Adam Treasure and Case Endeveld, I think. This is the final lap, and we're into the SE section. I think that back marker has just given Tim Reeves and Pat Farrance enough space to get through this final section of the racetrack. And out of the final corner, number 77, Tim Reeves and Patrick Farrance take a narrow victory from Ben and Tom Birchall. Pekka Piverinter and Timo Kartiala in third. Well, looking further back, number 18, Dave Molyneux and Daniel Sale now look secure in that 6th position. Just listen to that 1000cc Suzuki GSXR engine as they ride around this last third of the racetrack. That rear tyre spinning up under the power from the Suzuki. Into the final double apex right-hander they come. Great ride from Dave Molyneux and Dan Sale. And across the finish line for 6th position. Well, confirmed the win for Tim Reeves and Patrick Farrance. Ben and Tom Birchall, 2nd position once again. Pekka Piver and Timo Kardiala had to settle for 3rd this time around. Disappointment for Sebastian Delanoy and Gregory Clues. Only 4th on home soil. Schlosser and Hanny 5th, and Molyneux and Sale in 6th. So Tim Reeves and Patrick Farrance milking the applause for all it's worth onto the podium. Their World Championship T-shirts on. And it's good to see Paverinter and Reeves shaking hands after that race. Well, number 1 in the race and number 1 in the world. 235 points for the 2007 World Champions ahead of Pekka Piverinter and Timo Kartiala, runners up once again. Schlosser and Hanny took 3rd position by 1 point from Delanoy and Clues, with Ben and Tom Birchall 5th. In the team standings, Team Eastern Airways clear winners ahead of the Hanny Racing team, with Team Suzuki Finland 3rd. Well, that's all from the riders for this year. Hope you've enjoyed the 2007 Superside FIM Sidecar Championship. Time to wave goodbye.